It's a tale of two disasters. Ron DeSantis versus Gavin Newsom. Everyone knows Gavin Newsom. He's really doing a scumbag snow job this weekend. One of the biggest political grabs is Gavin Newsom's governor seat. Remember, they said that they've thought of putting Kamala Harris in there. I think this locks out both Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom because they're both been proven to be incompetent boobs. Welcome to Doug in Exile. Here's David Rubin.
2 years ago, Hurricane Ian demolished Southwest Florida. Immediately after the hurricane, everybody on the news was saying to rebuild the Sanibel Causeway, which is about 4 miles, was going to take 3 years. That's what everybody was saying. DeSantis basically had it rebuilt in a month because he brought all the best contractors down. He took everybody to the bridge and basically said, what do we need to do? We gave him our recommendations and he started making it happen the next day. That's proper, competent governance. We're just so not used to that. We're used to what you fled in California, an ever-growing state that taxes endlessly and punishes people for success.
It's taxation versus success. Ron DeSantis knew that he could build that bridge. This is about the can-do spirit of proper governance. When you have the confidence and you're not a sham artist, which DeSantis is not a scam artist. He gets stuff done. He's probably America's top governor, which is why he's down there in Florida, so that when they have natural disasters and all kinds of problems, he's the best man on the ground to get something moving and get it done. Now you have the exact opposite. You have a similar southern hemisphere state like Florida versus California. California's on the other side. You see what truly bad, incompetent governance from top to bottom in California does regarding the wildfires. Wildfires, it's like when the tide goes out, you find out who doesn't have any trunks on. And California's been exposed as completely incompetent, poor leadership, unqualified. And that's why all of the leadership is blaming the weather. They're acting like good governance has nothing to do with it.
And then it's like, how is it that I have nice, clean roads in Florida? How is it that we don't have homeless people? Why do things work with no income tax in Florida? And why does Cali tax the hell out of you and have much worse services and much worse infrastructure and a whole series of other problems? So the government shouldn't do much. Everything should be dealt with at the state and local level. And then the federal government should have a couple things that they're supposed to do. So that would be border, make sure the states aren't warring with each other, interstate commerce, foreign policy. I would say the founders basically got it completely right.
Because, Gavin Newsom's saying we need more money. We need money to fix this. We're going to have to get some money from the government, from Trump. Trump, bail out our state for our bad practices, for our bad governance. As if all they need is more money in California. Well, California has more taxes and more money to deal with stuff than any other country. They waste it. We've already seen how they waste it. Misappropriated, terribly spent. That's another management problem. Management does not mean get more money. It means you manage the money you're given and how it's dispersed. So how do you explain that Florida doesn't even have a state tax and it can deal with emergencies better, including just Ron DeSantis' simple decision to rebuild the bridge? It was done in a matter of months instead of the experts said it would take 3 years. Well, experts are saying it's going to take 3 to 4 years for Gavin to do any kind of rebuilding. There's no reason why the moment that fire's put out, they can't start clearing rubble and rebuilding. But they already know that this is bad governance. Lower your expectations. Nothing's going to happen. It's not because of the weather. It's not because they don't have enough money, because Gavin Newsom's trying to milk the government right now. We have a video about Rand Paul saying the government's California just wants to get a free blank check and spend it however they want. They might re-divert all of it to DEI again, just like they were already paid money to build aqueducts, and they didn't build any of their reservoirs that they already won the money for in 2014. Gavin Newsom didn't spend it.
This is a map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco. And you see how almost the whole thing is covered, because that is what has happened in one of the previous greatest cities this country's ever had. Human feces is now a fact of life, except when a communist dictator comes to town. Then they cleaned up the streets. They lined the streets with Chinese flags. They didn't put American flags.
That was the quote of the century in that debate between DeSantis and Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom just laughing the whole time. It's true. Under Gavin Newsom and Pelosi, their leadership, human feces is a regular part of San Francisco. The only time they cleaned it up was when Xi Jinping came to visit, and they lined the streets with Chinese communist flags, not American flags. That's the difference in governance. Ron DeSantis is absolutely on this one. This is a choice. And frankly, it's a choice of the California voters to go. Now, this pastor, I'm bringing up this pastor. This is a sermon from Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. I don't even know if it's appropriate for a pastor to preach about politics from the pulpit specifically like this one does. To address the problem in California and the suffering in Southern California, this pastor says, hey, our government, it's the government, and it's specifically the percentage of Democrats in government. Listen to this.
We have watched the absolute exposure of the most incompetent. This is the most wealthiest state in the 50. We pay the most in taxes. We pay the most in gas. We pay the most in electricity. You name it. If it's in California, we pay the most for it. Why? Because of our government. Because of things that Sacramento does because they can. Our flag of this state is an absolute abject lie. The flag says California Republic. It is not. A republic is where the people decide and the people have their way. What has happened to California? California has been under unmitigated Democrat 100% power control. Democrat, supermajority. What does that mean, supermajority? It means nobody can oppose their decision making. A catastrophe came, and the billions of dollars that you and I gave was diverted to other woke, stupid Democrat projects.
You guys have heard me say this number before. California has the most conservatives in any state. There's just so many more liberals by number that their percentage has zero influence on governance. That is, they have a ton of conservatives that could fix all kinds of problems. They're not going to ever be called on. Their preferences and issues will never be addressed because that's how California works. That's how California runs itself. They have liberals. If a liberal gets 51%, they will never provide leadership or a say for those who are outside of the majority. And that is the highest number of conservatives in America. Have compassion on them. The highest number of conservatives in America, therefore, being oppressed by a government that is not a republic and not a representing, they're not represented. It's the California conservatives that are the biggest victims of liberals. Now, they could go to another state, but that's not what a patriot does, guys. If America screws up and goes down the tubes, I'm not going to another country. I'm going to fight in this country. I admire some of the Californians that stay behind in California. The conservatives, they're going to fight. Now, coming up, this is Elon Musk went to the actual fire team on the ground this weekend and brought them a bunch of Starlink internet connection. He just does a quick live interview because he is the news.
I'm here with the fire command team at the Palisades Fire. Hey, guys. I was asked if we could bring some more Starlinks here, so we've brought some more Starlinks here. But how did it start out? Like, what's the story?
So honestly, we don't know yet. It's still in an investigation. We don't know how it started.
You clear the brush and the trees, and what actions do you take around the perimeter of that?
So along the perimeter, we call it cutting line. We use bulldozers. But really what we're doing is taking everything out down to bare minimum soil.
Okay.
So there will be a path of dirt from where the black line is. Basically. Exactly. We're building a fire break along the edge of the black.
That was Elon Musk with the fire chief. Just wanted to give you guys an insight on his point of view. But meanwhile, here's Gavin Newsom, the greasiest, the biggest liar, playing a confidence man, salesman to NBC News. They're not going to ask him any hard questions, and listen to this greasebag just do. It's very much like a male version of the Kamala Harris word salad.
And then the Super Bowl, and then the Olympics. With this rebuilding effort needing to take place, is LA going to be ready for all of those global events?
My humble position
and it's not just being naively optimistic. That only reinforces the imperative moving quickly, doing in the spirit of collaboration and cooperation.
Are his hand signals helping you at all? Do they give you any confidence in this guy? What a scum. This guy's like a total salesman, completely snowing you. It's all word salad. And then he's got the hand signals, super obnoxious. Just watch this hand signal. It's disgusting. And nothing he says is of substance or will change anything. He's a snowman. He's a snow artist.
President of the United States, Donald Trump, to his credit, was helpful in getting the Olympics to the United States of America, to get it down here in LA. We thank him for that. This is an opportunity for him to shine, for this country to shine, for California and this community to shine. The opportunity with all of that and all that opportunity and that pride and spirit that comes from not just hosting those three iconic games and venues, but also the opportunity, I think, to rebuild at the same time. And that's why we're already organizing a Marshall Plan. We already have a team of looking and reimagining LA 2.0, and we're making sure everyone's included, not just the folks on the coast, people here that we're around.
You know, if you listen closely, it's very weird. I was wondering where I heard his cadence before. Not the hand signals, but just the words where he repeats and then he fills in. He does the backfill, which is BS. We're going to do endless details to try to filibuster so that you don't see that I don't actually know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to do all this backfill with meaningless detail that you didn't ask for and keep telling you about the will of man and the spirit of the people and what we're going to do and all the layers and transactions of the. Watch that speak. That's Karine Jean-Pierre. Remember Karine Jean-Pierre used to do that? She would do like all this weird detailed backfill just to run out the clock. That's how Gavin Newsom talks.
You just said you're organizing a Marshall Plan for the rebuilding of California. What is that Marshall Plan?
For
Tell
this
us about
region,
this Marshall
we're
Plan.
just starting to lay out. I mean, we're still fighting these fires. So we're already talking to city leaders. We're already talking to civic leaders. We're already talking to business leaders and nonprofits. We're talking to labor leaders. We're starting to organize how we can put together a collection of individuals on philanthropy for recovery, how we can organize the region, how we can make sure that we are seeking federal assistance for the Olympics more broadly, but also federal assistance for the recovery efforts, and how we can galvanize the community with folks that love this community to really develop a mindset.
Absolute emptiness. You know, Californians, as dumb as their Democrats are, I don't think even they're slow enough to believe this. I think they're going to look at this and start going, now, I'm a really dumb Democrat. I voted for this guy multiple times and tried to save him from multiple recalls. But even this, after a while, even Karine Jean-Pierre, you start going, Karine Jean-Pierre, you're telling me Joe Biden's a genius, sharp as a tack, the border's closed. I don't believe you anymore. There is a threshold where you're willing to tolerate really empty talking. When you lose your house and your state's on fire, I think people lose their patience.
So that at scale, we're dealing with the scope of this tragedy and responding to it at scale with efficiency, like the executive order I talked about, time value of delivering projects, addressing building codes, addressing permitting issues, and moving forward to rebuilding and being more resilient.
That is a man with no credibility, Gavin Newsom. Ruinous. Your state won't be rebuilt. Gavin should just step down and go, you know what, I'm going to allow Ron DeSantis to come in and rebuild California. It would be done quicker. It would be done on day one. He goes, we need competent governance. And if he really loved California, if Gavin Newsom really cared, he'd step down. He doesn't care. That's why he's only going to sit there and try and protect his power for another 4 years. I'm Doug in Exile. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.